Hello YouTube, today we'll be taking a look at the Bandai Ultraman renewal version. The Bandai Ultraman renewal version came out in 2012 and is a 2.0 or a renewal of the Bandai Ultraman which came out in 2010. And basically, if you're wondering what the Ultract is, essentially it was Bandai Tamashii Nation's premium line for premium figure line for Ultraman figures in the 2010s. However, in recent years, they have slowly but surely have been replaced with the SH Figuarts Ultraman. For instance, SH Figuarts Ultraman Tiger here, and basically speaking, the Ultract line has been dead since I think about 2017. But SH Figuarts Ultraman figures have been around since I believe 2014, as the original SH Figuarts Ultraman came in 2014 with a re-release in 2016 for its 50th as a 50th anniversary pack, and as well as another re-release with less accessories in 2020 as part of the best selection line. So essentially, Ultract is a dead line that has slowly but surely been replaced with Ultraman, with the SH Figuarts Ultraman line, with the SH Figuarts Ultraman line redoing characters that redoing Ultraman that have already been done, as well as making new Ultraman which weren't around when the Ultract line was a thing. So differences between the Ultract and SH Figuarts Ultraman line, first off, is the scale. As you can see here, the Ultract Ultraman is a bit taller than the SH Figuarts Ultraman, with Ultract being about 6.5 inches and SH Figuarts being about 6 inches. Essentially, this is Marvel Legends. This is standard import size. But besides that, so you might be wondering, why am I taking a look at a 9-year-old figure, especially considering the fact that SH Figuarts has already done an Ultraman figure? Well, for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, there are things about this figure that I think are superior to the SH Figuarts Ultraman figure, as well as the fact that I'm trying to compare this to the best selection release, as both of them retailed at about the same price. And when you look at the accessories that this guy comes with, you will begin to notice that the SH Figuarts Ultraman best selection version has a very little on the accessories department. So speaking of accessories, what does this figure have in terms of it? So let's take a look here. So for accessories, it's a bit messy here unfortunately. We have these two effect parts, which effectively you put it around the leg of the Ultract Ultraman, so that it looks like there's a lot of like blast effects coming out from the back of his leg. Essentially, it's to give the idea of, hey, this battle is very, like, something along the lines of, this battle is very difficult, and look at the ground, it's like the dirt from the ground is like being blasted off from his feet because of how difficult this fight is. So maybe, for instance, say Goku here punched Ultraman super hard, and it's like, ooh, I'm being pushed back, and then the ground is, you know what I mean. And besides that, what else does Ultraman have? Well, a lot of hands. First and foremost, the pair of fists on his hand, a pair of karate chop hands, a pair of slightly like calm open hands. Try and focus. There we go. Calm open hands. A pair of splayed out open hands. A right peace sign hand, and two karate chop hands with blast effects on them. One being is it a Zephelium ray? I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact name of the ray because every Ultraman has one. As well as this, basically it's the ray but in the disc form, and it also has a stand adapter, as well as an alternate color timer, with it being red. If you're wondering what the color timer is, essentially it's this part. It's this blue thing on Ultraman's chest, and the red one essentially it's damaged mode. And I'm not going to change the color timer for this review, unfortunately, as it's not that difficult, but it can lead to paint chipping, and I don't really want to paint chip this figure any further. You know what, never mind, I'll just do it now. So my recommendation is to pull the color timer from the bottom and pull it out, and make sure you don't lose it, because these things are freaking tiny, and it's easier to lose than a damn penny. And there's also a very specific way that these things are supposed to fit in, but I honestly can't really tell now which direction they're supposed to be. I just kind of feel around with it, and yeah, color timer inserted, and now Ultraman has a red color timer. Personally not a big fan, but if you're getting this figure, you get to do it however you want, man. And now let's do some hand swaps. Essentially, take off the hands and just plug it in. There we go. It's a bit tricky. It's a bit more difficult than like a figuarts or something for some reason, though I'm not 100% sure why. So hang on. Oh. There we go. Now we have two chopping hands, so you can do this. Do a variety of poses with the different hands, as well as Ultraman's signature flight pose. Straighten out the legs, rotate the arms on the top here, head moves up, so you can do something like this with Ultraman. A very nice flight pose, and it will look better, obviously, with a stand. And speaking of stands, that's what this adapter is for. The S-Track Ultraman has a removable part here at the back of the spine, so that you can attach this adapter into it. So essentially what this is for is that it's a peg hole at the back of the figure, so that if you want, you can equip a stand around it without having to use. So it actually allows you to put the figure on the stand without having to see the tamashi, without having to see like the clips on the stand. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this accessory, because as you saw just now, it is a bit on the unreliable side. And if you want him to be in the air, honestly, Ultraman, you want him to fly, right? And yeah, can't really do a great flying pose with him on there. So personally, I just leave this in the box. Yeah, and he also comes with another detachable part here. And if you're wondering, effectively this is adapter for a sewed separately cape called the Brother's Mantle, and which is not included with this set. If you want to purchase it separately, it's a fine purchase, but personally I don't really care for the mantle, so it's another part of this figure which I don't really care for. And while we're here, let's talk about the articulation. The head moves up that far, so for the flying, down that far. Double ball joint at the neck, head and the neck, so it's like side to side. Rotation is not that much, unfortunately, because of the head shape. There's a ball joint that goes into the chest, so it allows you to do this, which basically gives you a butterfly joint. Moves out that far. Bicep swivel at the top here. Double bend at the elbow. Figuarts wrists basically hinge, swivel. Back moves back that far, and a lot of crunch, mostly for Ultraman's signature fighting stance. If you look at the back of the box here, yeah, that's usually how Ultraman fights, very crouched down, so that's why it's like that. Side to side, there's a lot. Double ball joint at the waist and at the torso and the waist. Drop down, old school drop down figuarts hips. Spread is that much, nearly 90. Legs box forward that much, not much back, but if you detach it, it goes about 45, but it doesn't look that great. Double bend at the knee. The feet's a little bit disappointing as the feet doesn't really go forward all that much, nor does it go back all that much. It's enough for like standing poses, but for like flighting, but for like a flight pose, I do kind of wish that it goes more so that it goes more something like perhaps, yeah, not even this guy can do it, but I wish it goes more so that it could be more parallel with the legs. But besides that, hinge at the top, hinge at the bottom for ankle rocker, toe bend, which is pretty okay for a figure. Yeah, posability on this guy is pretty good, and in some ways, I'm pretty sure it's better than the figuarts one. Actually, it's more of just on par, not better. But besides that, that's essentially everything that this figure comes with. And yeah, but here's the thing of comparing this thing to the best selection as it figuarts Ultraman. This guy is larger, about as expensive, but he still came with so much more accessories for about the same price at retail, which is a bit odd, especially the fact that this piece was already done for best selection. Didn't have to redo this piece. They just took it out because they wanted to, I guess. And it's Ultraman's signature finishing move. You can't just not include that, right? Come on, like seriously, like it's a worrying trend with like the SH figuarts Ultraman line, as all of their budget releases seems to have this issue. Tiger being one of those examples as well. Yeah, and actually while I'm here, one thing I forgot to bring up is, this is unavoidable, but if you look at the back of the legs, you can see like the red detail here. It's kind of like a big triangle, and it's red here as well, but it's silver on the back of the legs here. Unfortunately, it's understandable why it's like this, as basically they just casted this in silver to make the front not look like shit, but it's unfortunate that there's this issue here. I might paint it, probably won't, because this guy is getting extremely expensive on the aftermarket. Last time I checked, it was like $130 on Amazon. So honestly speaking, I paid like $45 for this guy, so it's probably fine with it. But yeah, it's a good figure. If you can find it for like close to retail or for a decent price, I'd say go for it. But if you just have this figure, like maybe get like best selection, as much as I grabbed on it in this review, is not that bad of an option, especially because of the fact that it's still relatively new and it's relatively cheap. But personally, if you were going to get it, I'd recommend trying to track down any of the other releases of that SH figuarts Ultraman. Personally, I would just rather get the 50th anniversary one instead, if I were to get one. Which honestly I might, because the rest of my Ultraman collection is figuarts, because my plans on getting the Bandai Ultraman line has been my plans have changed since the reveal of the Senchoku Seiho Ultraman Tiga, because before then we were stuck with the Ultraman one, and Tiga is my favorite and childhood Ultraman. But considering the fact that it is what it is, it's still a very good figure, and even though it's not in scale with SH figuarts, you can fake it. Like, Ultraman's signature battle pose is literally being crouched down. He's like crouched down for like most of his fights anyway. If you just pose him a little, he's like about the same size, and it's Ultraman, it's like not really that big of a deal. And yeah, you can still like put him next to a Godzilla and make them fight convincingly. It's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. But again, you do what you want with the money. Personally, I would get this instead of best selection, but that also does come down to its availability. Well, this is my review. Signing off.